They gon' need a village cause they messing with the realest. Woo! I can let them blur the vision. Started from the bottom, but I promise I'ma break through. I ain't been on missing. This is how I'm living every day. I'm trying to make moves, focus on the mission.
Hello, I'm Aaron Hosack, Bryce Atagi, and welcome to The Climb. This is the show where we feature leaders throughout the system. They're, making some waves and moving forward in their lives, both professionally and personally. So today's guest, we got a very special guest today. This guest started their climb in the great state of Tennessee, the volunteer state. Got a few things that I got for this guy. I want to read these off before we introduce him. He created a plumbing department from the ground up in late 2020. He was employee number 1 in MVP. And, I remember his first month, I think he brought in himself alone, our plumbing department, like $25,000 that first month, man. And we thought it was huge. And he grew that business to, over a $5 million plus business in 4 short years. So very good stuff. In addition to that, we asked a couple people for some things, and he is a huge consumer of leadership content, especially through TikTok, those type of videos. He's a huge Grant Cardone fan. All right, if you look at his social media, it's all Grant Cardone quotes, videos, and all that good stuff. He's notorious for buying the latest as seen on TV item and then showing you how cool it is. All right, his favorite walk-up song when he's walking up to the customer's home is by 3 6 Mafia. I know that's a fact. And he has a passion for gummy bears, freeze-dried Skittles, and most recently, he led his team to Business of the Quarter in Southwind, a very, very prestigious honor. So please join me in welcoming Justin Armstrong to The Climb today, everybody. Justin, how you doing?
Doing great.
It's not snowing down there in Florida, is it?
No chance of snow.
All right. Well, yeah, Justin, just want to start by kind of asking you about kind of your background, your upbringing, man. Obviously we heard you're from Tennessee, but just kind of tell us the background of Justin Armstrong.
Grew up like Hosack said, small town right outside of Nashville. Kind of growing up and as a kid, just like anybody else, loved to play baseball, loved to play football, and was really big into wrestling. More sports that I could take, the better.
So big sports guy.
Yeah, I think so. I'd like to stay active, and it's something that I enjoyed, and also got, that's how I met a lot of my friends growing up was, recreational sports, and just that team camaraderie. It was really good for us because it was such a small town.
Who's that, when you think about sports growing up, who was that kind of figure that you kind of looked up to?
Man, that's a good one. I guess when I would look up to it, it was always, the coaches, like, obviously Andy Reid, but it was also a lot of the Olympics, like the wrestlers that were going for the Olympics, that were going straight from college. There was a couple of them that I followed a lot. Couldn't remember their names now. It's been so long since I followed them, but I just enjoyed like the actual atmosphere of like how they got there and the college career that they took in the past. So
that's awesome, man.
That's cool. And I don't know if you know this, but Justin has, his son is one of the top wrestlers in the state of Florida right now, which is pretty cool as well. So big shout out to David on that one. Jay, let me ask you, man. I know you come from a family of plumbers, right? And that was in your blood ever since you've been a little one, right? So tell us about your aspirations growing up. Was it always going to be that path? Was it going to be plumbing? Did you entertain any other careers maybe along the way?
Yeah. I mean, I started in the trades real young. First job I had was, working underneath my dad at a shop at 14 years old. Main job was to dig the ditch and go grab pipe and fittings. And my dad said, that's how you're going to learn what the, what the parts are. A lot of the people in my family, grandfather, uncles, cousins, were all plumbers. It was just kind of one of the things you did. Like some kids would go and hang out at the park. I was on a construction site and got to learn, how to do the trade, but also like, those older guys, they got a lot of wisdom. And it was really just fascinating to just listen to the stories that they had. So that was kind of like my upbringing. Huge part for me is actually, a lot of people don't know this, but I actually wanted to be an architect. I wanted to be an engineer who built buildings by just drawing the blueprints. I got that because when I was 14 and 15, we see these guys come in with a nice, pretty white hard hat, and I was like, that's who I want to be. With a nice slacks, I was like, yeah, that's who I'm going to be. Quickly realized that you got to go to school for like 8-9 years for that. So I was like, that's not, we're done.
When you think about, you know, the last couple years, right, and merging, what kind of brought you to Southwind, man? Like, or even what brought you to MVP before Southwind?
Yeah. So I was working at a place where I was selling plumbing and I was selling sewers. It was probably one of the most toxic places I've ever worked in my entire life. And uh, I had almost got to the point where I told my wife, I was like, I think I'm just going to do my own thing. Uh, right around that same day, it was like 2 hours later, I get a phone call from Jeff Scott, and he's like, hey, we would really like for you to come in and talk to us. And so I kind of like tested them out, and I said, cool, I'll be there at 6 a.m. Thinking I was like, let's see what they got. But sure enough, they're like, we'll be there. And so, did the interview, went through the process, told my wife, I said, okay, let's give it a shot, and what do I got to lose? But yeah, it was the best decision I've ever made in my entire life. Taking that phone call from Jeff.
I know we're happy you did too.
Yeah, and like I had kind of talked about earlier, Jay, you were the plumbing department when you started, right? Like we went from not having a plumbing department to Jeff Scott finding a plumbing department, and little did we know how great that plumbing department would eventually come. So kind of give us an idea, the listeners an idea, what were the early days like at MVP for you? When you walked in, you were looking around. Obviously, you've been through the trade. You've been a lot of different places, and you know what great places look like. So, describe the early days, because I know it wasn't always it wasn't always pretty.
No, it wasn't. Honestly, like the first day walking in, really did. Like, I'm not just saying this to say it. Like, it felt like the first day of the rest of my life. Like sitting down in the white tables that we had with the black chairs, and we had a couple other guys with me, and seeing the vision and seeing Chip's vision of what he wants the business to grow to, and Hosack's vision and how he was painting it was like, this is exactly what I have been envisioning for my entire life of where I wanted to be and how I wanted to live my life. I was bought in from day one, and I don't think there was anything that anybody could do to change that. And it was tough. It was tough being the only plumber for a while, and then trying to find people to join the team. It's not easy to go around and ask somebody, say, hey, do you want to go on call with me every day? Not a lot of people want to do that. But I had some really good friends, really great colleagues that I've found along the way, that were like, yeah, we'll suit up and we'll embrace the suck with you, because we believe in the vision too, which led us to a fantastic department, and a lot of great leaders came out of that as well. One today is actually leading that same department as we speak.
Absolutely, yeah. You're talking about Aaron Smith, who's done a phenomenal job, right? And Aaron Smith started with us, man, and you built him up into a great leader to where he's doing a great job leading the plumbing department. So big shout out to Smitty. So what did you learn about yourself during that time? From going from one person doing $25K a month to creating an entire team, creating great leaders that can move some big volume as far as revenue. What did you learn about yourself specifically during that time?
I had to learn how to be humble. I had to learn how to not take everything on the shoulders. Like I wasn't going to be able to grow the department if I continued to just take on every single task. I brought on the guys that I brought on simply because I knew that they would be great for the team. And along the way, the leaders in my life taught me, like, this is a team effort type of situation. And if I continue to try to take it all on, it's going to be tough, a lot more stressful. And that's why we brought on teammates to help us grow that department. So I quickly learned that, you can't do everything by yourself. You have to ask for help.
Yeah, Jay, and teaching the Southwind Entrepreneurship Program and also the Leadership AP program, one of the things that I see consistently across the board is one of the main things people struggle with is like, how do I delegate? How can I trust somebody to do something as good as I can do? So walk me through kind of your process in that, man, because I'm sure at first you're like, dang, nobody can do it as good as I can. But as you know now, it's impossible to grow or scale a business unless you empower the people around you to take some of that weight off your shoulders. And then sometimes you find out, man, they can do the things better than I can do. So kind of walk us through that process, man, and what advice you'd have for others that maybe are struggling in that category.
Yeah. So just as like you said, I mean, the very first leadership class that I attended was like, what got me here is not going to get me to the next level. And the one thing, I guess, the one key thing that I remember a couple of my leaders telling me was, you know, you got to trailblaze. You got to blaze the trail so other people know what to do and follow, and help them grow. Kind of going back to the irrefutable laws, or 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, is the law of the lid. And if that lid isn't higher, uh, you know, from leadership to teammates, they have nowhere to grow. So that's where your delegation would come into play, is, giving them a task so you can raise your lid, so they can raise their lid, and the company or organization continues to raise their lid as well. So if you haven't read that book, go get it.
There we go, in the description below. Hey, yeah, appreciate you touching on that. And you talked about, blazing the trail. And that's exactly what you've done when it comes to MVP, man. Being the first person to go out into a new location. And as we talked about earlier, your master is in plumbing, right? And now you're switching to HVAC down in Lakeland, Florida, man. So how has that transition been? And kind of walk us through, has it been difficult? Has it been easy? Was it what you expected? Kind of give us the background on that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely been in plumbing maybe too long, uh, to say the least. I had some great leadership on the piece of like when we had our own rush in Kansas City, I was able to help out on the operation side sometimes with that. So that was a little bit of exposure before I came. But nonetheless, my teammates, Bruce and Jen Gleason, have hands down been the best teachers when it comes to this HVAC business, and especially in Florida. Um, they haven't hesitated at all to tell me almost everything that I could possibly imagine of what to look out for and how to run a business. And by far none, they run a very nice business when it comes to the HVAC side. So yeah, I mean, surrounding yourself with leadership and constantly being open to feedback and allowing yourself to grow as a person and never not ask a question is kind of my thing. Is like, if you're not asking questions, you ain't learning. If you're not learning, you're not growing. Yeah.
And I think that's why it's evident why you guys were the Southwind Business of the Quarter, man. Is simply because you didn't go down to Lakeland with a big ego, right? You went down there and you looked to work alongside your teammates as opposed to feeling like you had to come in and change everything. And, you know, I think that's why you guys have such an incredible culture down there in Florida, man.
Yeah, and I'll double down. Bruce and Jen, you'd mentioned them, you know, who had been in the business for a long time before Jay got down there and joined their team. And, you know, Snowbird has a really, really fine, great reputation in the city of Lakeland, Florida. Like, they do a lot of community events out there. They're a big part of the community, and you can tell it just by the loyalty from their customer base, which is very, very admirable. So great job to you guys. Jay, I know when we saw each other in DC, we had a conversation, and, you know, I wanted to ask you this because this is kind of similar to our conversation we had out in DC, but man, when did you believe that anything was possible?
Man, that's a tough one. It's going to sound corny, but day one at MVP, man, it was right there at that white table, and the vision was clear. It was not hazy. It was not gray. It was not like, let me hide some things from Justin. It was black and white. Exactly what you guys said was what you wanted. And so far it's been exactly to the T, almost like you wrote it down on a piece of paper and handed it to me. It was like, this is where we're going. And when people are very honest and just very upfront and they don't leave anything out, at times when you're transparent, if you will, the transparency is where you get your buy-in. At least for me, I bought in from day one, and I wanted to be a part of the ride, and I was willing to do absolutely anything to make sure that I was still on that ride along the way.
That's cool, man. And I appreciate you because, you know, you heard the message on day one, which is the same message that everybody gets when they enter the business at MVP, Snowbird, Southwind, whatever it is. And I'll tell you, the truth is, you know, like, you are the one that's making it possible for everybody else now, right? Like, you were the first one to start this outside of Kansas City. So we appreciate you getting the ball rolling, because I believe many other people are going to follow you now, and it's very visible, and the belief is there because you are the one living it out. So thank you and congratulations.
Did you ever picture yourself in Florida growing up? Like, ended up in Florida?
I mean, you know, no, no, not at all. I truly thought that
you were born in Florida.
I was born in Florida. Yeah, I was. But I don't know. I mean, we always thought we would just be in Kansas City forever and, you know, doing our thing. But, you know, I guess like when I remember telling my wife, I was like, hey, do you want to move to Florida? And she kind of looked at me like, of course I do. Like, who doesn't? Who wouldn't want to go to Florida? And I was like, well, we might be moving. And she was so excited, she actually left me behind and moved a month early. Maybe stay in Kansas.
Yeah, and I think you took the statement of "we believe anything is possible," and you're showing us that anything's possible, man. So, you know, being an entrepreneur, being a leader, it comes with a lot of, man, you got to carry a lot of weight, right? And also, you know, let's not forget that you also have a family and a personal life, man. So right now, present day, what keeps Justin Armstrong up at night, man?
Man, what keeps me up at night is going to be probably the one thing that like kills people's careers, in my opinion, and it's called, you know, getting stagnant or staying in one place at one time for too long. You know, if you're not trying to strive for the next level, if you're not working towards that next level and start taking on those responsibilities, like, you're just going to be where you're at all the time. If I stayed stagnant while I was in a truck and I just did the bare minimum while I was in the trucks, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to take on my first operations role on a weekend, which, you know, was amazing to me to learn that side of the business. However, yeah, that's the one thing is like, I don't never want to stay in one area position for too long, because I'm eager and I want to learn the next role. There's so much to learn about this business, and if we stop, then yeah, you kind of get stagnant.
Yeah, and I can relate with you there, man. Like my first operation shift by myself was also like Aaron put me on Saturdays and Sundays. And for most people, it's like, damn, I'm losing my weekend. But for me, it's all about how you look at things and seeing it as an opportunity. And,
Yep.
you know, so that's awesome, man.
Yeah, so Justin, like, I'm sure you've sat in on a Justin meeting before, but Justin's one of the best at delivering like an inspiring, motivational message to his team, right? And he's always digesting, putting information in, like we talked about earlier. The Grant Cardone, the John Maxwell, huge fan of John Maxwell. Like Justin's always taking something in, right? Whether it's a motivational talk, quote, whatever the case may be. So Jay, I want to ask you, how do you stay inspired? Because, and it's like, you know, that's something I miss with you leaving. Like every week, like he made me rise up because of what I had to bring, because of what he was doing in his own meetings and ways. So how do you stay inspired?
You know, besides the TikToks, I would say, you know, we have a great book club going on right now with one of John Maxwell's books, and we're also reading the legacy book as well right now. The biggest thing is like you've got to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with the people that you want to end up being a part of, and that means like, you know, if a guy is you know, running a business and the business is bigger than yours, you know, reach out to that guy. One guy in particular, I always had this. It was inspiring to me. Andy Majors always used to show up at headquarters like really early, and I thought I was the earliest guy because I would show up at like 6. Well, then at 6 o'clock, Andy is pushing a broom in the back parking lot. And I'm like, all right, so he gets here earlier than 6. And then I try to go and do, you know, 5:30. There he is. He's in the parking lot checking the trucks. And I'm like, to me, that's inspiring because if he can get there earlier than me, then I need to pick up my game and start trying to get to work a little bit more faster and see if I can't beat him.
That's that +1 mentality, man. That +1.
But +1, baby.
Yep. So when you think about that, okay, so, you know, Andy inspired you, right? With just a thing, and he might not even have known that, right? And that's the cool thing about leadership is like sometimes people don't even tell you when you have a positive impact on them, but obviously he has with you. So now when you think about all of our other leaders around the system that are currently on their climb, what are 3 pieces of advice that you have for them that could maybe inspire them to get to that next level or to strive for that next thing?
Yeah. Biggest one is kind of, you know, my dad used to tell me this all the time, and I've carried it for like my entire life, which is, you know, never get outworked. Like, don't be the guy who gets outworked. Kind of going back to Andy, if somebody shows up at 5, you're there at 4:30. If they stay till 6, you're there till 6:15. Yeah, never get outworked. Second one, I don't know. It's definitely going to be, you know, create your own opportunities. You know, Kyle O'Neill used to tell me like, no opportunity is just going to just fall in your lap. You're going to have to go out there, create it, generate it, find it, and make something happen before the time passes. Otherwise, you've just let the opportunity pass by, and now you're behind the square on that. Yeah, and the last one, man, I gotta take it back to Hosack. You guys are gonna laugh, but you always wear your hat the way you want your life to go. So it's been something that I learned on my first day, and I used to be a backwards hat, 3-6 mafia kind of guy, and I heard that and I said, "No, I'm gonna turn it around." So I keep it forward.
There we go.
Hey Jay, last question, man, and you know, I want you to think about, you know, when you first started and like, man, the plumbing department, everything depended on you, right? And running on call 5 days a week. Like Justin was available 24/7 for our customers, right? Justin's building meetings, at home, at the dinner table, replying to texts, taking his guys' phone calls, like nonstop, 24/7. Like the business needed him, and he was always willing to give that. Operations over the weekend, on call over the weekend, holidays, whatever it is. Like you said earlier, working hard is a talent. That's what your dad taught you growing up. So, through all that hard stuff, man, moving your family, right? Moving your family down to Florida for the next opportunity. And now more opportunities obviously heading your way. Some big stuff happening in Florida right now involving Snowbird and that location out there. So, man, why is it all worth it? Like, why, if I'm listening today and I'm doing extra on the weekends, maybe I'm working late at night, I'm having to do slideshows at the end of the day before the next morning. Why is it all worth it in the end?
I mean, that answer is pretty simple for me, and I'm pretty sure that everybody can relate. I know Bryce can, and you can, but everybody wants to work hard for their family. Everybody wants to give something back to them. But what they really don't realize is like, do you want to work hard for your family, or do you want to change the entire family tree? For me, I grew up as a, son of a plumber. I knew what my salary would end up being for the rest of my life. And that was scary. Like that scared the crap out of me, thinking like, that's it. Like there's the bar. I'm going to hit that bar. And then when it clicked with me was like, I had a leadership class with Coach Sims. And believe it or not, I was a little frustrated with my family tree, let's say. And I was like, man, Coach, I've done everything that my dad's done. I've got my master's. I've become a manager. I've put in the 20 years. I know everything that there is to know about my industry. Like, where do I go from here? And if it wasn't for Coach, I'd probably still be in that state. And it was that he told me that my dad, didn't let me down. He just got me to my race. My dad ran his race. It was my turn to pick up the stick and then keep on running and start my race. So that way my kids, when they're ready to start the race, they're that much further down the road. So thanks for Coach on that one.
Man, that's special, man. That one hit for sure. And now, you're going to pass the baton on to someone else, man, and your kids or your teammates, right? Which is really, really powerful, man. So, Justin, from the bottom of our hearts, man, we appreciate you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us on the climb. I know that any listeners that are listening right now are gonna get some really good gems out of what you share with us, man. So we appreciate you. Congrats again on winning Southwind Business of the Quarter, man. We look forward to seeing what you do with the rest of this year. And thanks again, my brother. This is The Climb.
I can let him blur the vision. Started from the bottom, but I promise I'ma break through. I ain't plan on missing. This is how I'm living every day. I'm trying to make moves, focus on the mission. Ain't no competition anyway that they gon' break you. They gon' need a village. They gon' need a village, cause they messing with the realest. Woo!